Hi everybody, Carmen here. Welcome back to Carmen's Bronco Shop. Just to bring you up to speed, we put a video out, I guess a few months ago now. It was on putting the body together, and of course that body's at the body shop right now, and at some point before too long it'll get some paint on it. It doesn't have it quite yet. And since then we've been working on the frame of that same truck, and it's a TDK frame. And we've installed the rear ends and the suspension, shocks, all the brake lines, and there's some interesting points that are made there. And we switched the front end from drums over to disc, and there's some issues that come along with that. For example, one axle on one side is an older axle, and one on the other side is a newer axle. So there's a slightly different application. Anyway, it's there, so you can see it. So without further ado, let's get at it. Just an update. Here's the new frame, of course. It's all primed and painted with trim clad paint. There's the rear end. I took the rear end out, of course the axles. We've got new axle bearings and seals to install, but the rear end was fine. Yeah. Okay, well, let's do the other one here. I've got it kind of up in place. It's a little fussy. We're dealing with brackets that come from wild horses for the standard frame. And then of course now we've got the new frame from TDK, which is designed just a little bit different, and it's all good, but it just means that you've got to mess around a little bit with the bolts. I had to pick up a little longer bolt for the top here because I just couldn't, there wasn't enough length to match the top and the side. But now we've got them. They're all set there. Torque those to stack, and they're good. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to let take the pressure off this and see how those springs look. They straighten out a little bit. So what I'm doing is I measured from the top of the horn here to the floor, top of the horn there to the floor, and the front axle is sitting on the jack stands. You can't see that one because of the block wood, but there you go. So the axle is straight. It's straight across, it's level. The springs are in place. Everything is basically the same except for the weight of the engine, well, of anything. The body, the whole shooting match. But right now, the frame is perfectly level with the ground. So there shouldn't really be any reason for it to change that much. But what you can have sometimes, like I mentioned a second ago, is the Bronco lean. And that is usually caused by an issue with your radius arm bushings in the front or in the back, but 99% of the time it would be something in the front that was installed incorrectly or something that slipped when you were reinstalling the radius arms. So let's move ahead now. Let's find some shocks and install those. So obviously this isn't a how-to video. This is more just a little entertainment, okay? Because this is all pretty simple stuff, but sometimes it's nice to watch one of these things go together. And I didn't want to do it all in fast forward because that's no fun. So I thought this was kind of cool. We'll talk a little bit while we're doing it, and it's like we're all hanging out here in my shop. So there, I've got them basically the same now on either side. Okay. Back shocks are a little bit different. So obviously they just slide on. This is pretty cool. This is the first time I've actually had brand new shock mounts with a brand new brand new frame. Oh, that washer's too large. That's kind of nice. They don't give you your nuts and bolts and everything. I guess they assume that you've got them coming off of your other frame, but of course everything was rusted on that one. I just realized when I was partway done this that I hadn't been taping anything, so this is kind of important. When you're pulling these hubs apart, this basically goes up against a ring that's up against your bearing, and there's a little dimple here. And first you install this, and then this ring here, it basically it has holes in it and a notch. It locks into that bearing or that big nut, and this one fastens against it, all three of them. And that kind of tightens things in. There's the ring I'm talking about. I'm just kind of cleaning this up because I bought the whole new setup, but I'm not sure. I know I have new bearings, but I don't think I have any of these rings and all this hardware that goes with it. So we'll keep it. Make sure there's no little pieces of metal or anything like that. Look at that. Brake shoes are obviously backed off enough. Wow. You know, it's amazing. With these front ends, everybody's always thinking about how they wear out, like the back and everything, but they really don't. As far as the gears go, in the Dana 44, they hardly have any miles on them because everybody runs around with their hubs unlocked and the rear ends don't even turn. So anyway, they're usually really good. As far as the spindles here and everything go, this guy did an amazing job. Like I said, this used to be the work truck for the Maitland Irving station, and it's old. This has sat probably for 10 years now, and but it was inside a shop, and one of the fellows up there used it as a plow truck in the driveway and whatnot up until I'm thinking 10 years ago, maybe 5. But regardless, like the grease in here, everything's nice. That's all. Everything's in great shape. Kind of surprising when you start working on such an old vehicle and you realize that the maintenance that somebody else has put into it, it's pretty darn good. But the dust and everything that's on here, even the shoes, really, if I wasn't switching it over, with the exception that the pads are probably 10 years old, they still got lots of wear on them. However, if you start banging around these with a hammer, the actual pads will probably fall off the metal. In any case, we're going to take all this apart and start installing a new one. Probably save some of these parts for down the road just in case somebody else needs one. although there's not many of these early Broncos around here. Anyhow, like I was saying, obviously, take this backing plate off. Knock on wood, everything seems to be going really, really easy until I did that. Oh yeah. Now, I'm not sure whether or not I have new spindles or not, so we got to be a little careful with that yet. Anyway, like I was saying, that's just dirt from being pulled out through the axle tube, but everything looks great there as well, which isn't surprising. And these U-joints, they were definitely changed within the past, probably 10 years ago, and there's nothing wrong. They're fine. Yeah, you can see they were definitely changed. You can see some hammer marks on this edge of the jack, or the edge of the shafts. Yeah, we'll clean those all up. Now, I'm thinking that I want to paint and clean these up too. As far as these ball joints go, man, they look good as well. In fact, I think they've been changed as well. Because as far as I can tell, this truck had about 60 to 70,000 miles. It's a 71. So 60 to 70,000 miles. So most of these things, especially where it was a garage truck, they would have been looked after. And they seem as fine as kind right now. So again, I'm keeping this truck and I'm pretty confident those are fine. If I was selling this truck, then I would probably buy new U-joints, throw them in the shafts and everything, but this thing will hardly ever be in four-wheel drive. And if I decide to sell it down the road, then I'll do it at that point. But it's just not a big deal to do these things. You say to yourself, well, if it's not a big deal, why don't you do it now? There's a lot of other things I got on my plate. Wow, that looks good. Let's go upstairs in the loft and bring down some parts. Let's see what we got. All right, so we just took that housing all apart. And I guess I don't need to tell you guys what we did. You can watch it. Anyway, here's the left side, which is the driver's side, of course. Part of the kit. You get two boxes like this. And actually, probably makes more sense to do it like this. Oh, look at this. Brand new vacuum plate. It's not a surprise. I knew it was going to be there. But it's nice, eh? Like just all brand new parts. Okay. spindle. And it says right there, spindle for GM front spindle. So I knew this, but I don't know exactly what the details are, but it is a GM conversion that Wild Horses sells. At least this one is. Wow. Okay, so all bearinged out, sealed, everything. There you go, look at that. So you don't have to worry about that. So really the only bearings I have to install and pre-lube are already in my drawer right here, and we'll do them. Caliper, pads, everything. All right. So far, so good. Piece of balsa wood for making those small planes that people used to use. Crappy attempt at humor there. Sorry about that. Okay. So that answers my question. That's it. There's nothing else in the box. Here's what you get. The new disc, new hub, and actually, that's right. I've got brand new hubs as well upstairs, but you'll see me install those. So there you go. You get all the parts for the conversion. So, but before I install them, I've got to I got to take this one apart as well. Now let's take this apart, and you've already seen me take the other one apart, so that's kind of boring. Anyway, here's something kind of interesting. So we're putting the whole new disc brake system back in place, and you'll see how this spindle has an accent, a bearing and seal, or sorry, a seal right here, bearings inside. But this, I believe, is the older setup, and it's different. So I believe what's happened is that this truck at some point got a new axle on that side, on the passenger side, and it's a different setup. And it won't work. Like if you try to put this setup on the passenger side, it won't fit flush like this does here. That's the way it's supposed to look. Oh, plus, this is kind of cool here. When you're doing this change from drum brakes to disc brakes, and you buy the GM kit from Wild Horses, it gets you everything. It's fantastic, but this part of the knuckle needs to be ground down just a little bit so that the caliper can slide in and out as the brake pads wear out. So this is what they're talking about right there. Okay, I'm going to figure out what the torque is on those, and then I'm going to move to the other side. Okay, so you can see how it's different. This is a newer axle, and it's probably just past the fork here, just this piece. I'm Of course, this truck is 50 years old, so nobody really knows. But anyway, you can see there's the new rubber, and this actually, that gasket goes with the spindle, but there's another, it's plastic, nylon bushing right here that's important to be installed as well. So you'll see how that fits here in 2 seconds. So you see on this one, we don't have that seal. Anyway, it's not perfect. I would rather have both axles the same, but it's also not the end of the world as long as you know what's going on. And I think most people that are working on these things have got some idea as to why there are different applications on either side. But yeah, so that's too bad that we've got 2 different axles, but there's nothing you can do about it because you're not going to throw your old axle away. Maybe at some point you might buy a spare, in which case you'd have them both the same, but you've got to be prepared. If you break one and you're back in the woods, then you need to have, you know, the seals for both in your kit to repair. Anyway, it's not perfect, but that's what happens as things change as you move along. In any case, as you can see, that fit really well. And we're going to start installing everything else, and we'll show you how the caliper needs to slide back and forth past that area there. That just show you how the caliper will slide back and forth past that. It's not very much. It's probably like a 1/16 of an inch or so that you take off this for it to fit. Anyway, again, it's all in the instructions. It's just that by having a video like this, you can kind of relate to it a little bit easier. Cheers. In case anybody's still confused, here's the old backing plates and spindles that came off of the truck, you know, with the drum brakes. And you see here, we have no seal on that one, and we have a seal on this one. So what I'm doing right now, obviously, is I'm reinstalling the new disc brake assembly, the hub, the rotor, everything, okay? I was going to get a bunch of technical information for you, but realized that I'm just not a technical guy. I can do all this stuff and I'm okay, but I don't want to be giving advice. And I just looked up a video that was done by Monster Mike, and it's specific. It tells you exactly how to install the bearings, what kind of torques to use. It explains the difference between the nuts and the washer and the sequence that everything has to go through. So that's Monster Mike, and he's got a fantastic video out there that gives you the technical. This is more about show and tell, just, you know, okay, well, we're going to put this part back on and so on and so forth. And I hope that you guys are okay with that, because I don't want to give bad advice to anybody. So that's where we're at this right now. That's nice. You can hear that of the grease. Okay. Let's keep it going. I'm just installing the brake lines. If you're like me, anytime you just say the word brake lines, it's like, oh no, it's going to be seized, bolts, everything's going to be stripped, everything. But not now. Because remember, everything's brand new, so it's like everything just bolts together beautifully. I just, the only thing I wasn't able to find, locally at least, were backing plates. So I was lucky, these backing plates were still really good. They must have been changed 20 years ago or so, I suppose. But anyway, you can't really see from there, but I'm installing the, no, I'll show you on the next one though. Anyway, it's no big deal, basically just threading the nut into the backing plate. Look here, like all these lines are already bent. And now we just thread this end into this sort of junction box. Oh, there you go. Okay, you can see that there. And I'm just kind of tightening everything finger tight here. And then you want to bend things ever so mildly. Okay, and you can see I also, when we were ordering all the new brake lines, I gotta tell you, Matt over there at Wild Horses, he just thinks of everything. And he's got me all set up. Everything I need. I said, well, anything else I need here, Matt? Oh yeah, no, you should get new ones of these because they're the breathing tubes. So when you're done, of course, that bolts into the rear end. And on the top here, there's a hose that comes off that and goes up and you tuck it inside your frame or up in your box, someplace where water's not going to get into it and get into your housing. Anyway, that slides right down through that junction box. You see that there? And bolts into the top of the rear end differential housing. Again, doing everything just with my fingers because the last thing you want to do is strip something. Here, I got it started. Tighten that up. Okay, then of course, this hose, this comes up to a bracket right up here inside the frame, kind of a neat spot, and it fastens in. I'll put the phone on it in a second. And of course the other line comes all the way up that frame rail. So let's tighten these up now that we've got this all done. Kind of gently bend everything in to where it belongs. So anyway, this is the way it looks now. See, everything's new. But anyway, that looks nice, eh? Onward and forward. Another thing that was kind of interesting, this bracket, this cross member, doesn't come with the new frame. So you've got to take that off your existing frame. And I mean, this one isn't the nicest looking piece of framework, but it's really solid. They get pitted up through the years, but it's not like you really see them. They hold up the transmission and the transfer case sit right here, and then of course the engine bolts up. But it's all cleaned up, got rid of all the rust, and it's painted with two coats of trim clad. So here's what's going on right now, just so that I can work on this easy. I've got it lifted up about 5 feet off the ground in the back. So those of you that haven't done this, these are all new stainless steel lines. They come in a big box from Wild Horses, the whole package, every stainless steel line you need. But obviously, this one's bent in a turn so that it'll fit in the box. So you just have to slowly straighten it out. And obviously you don't go crazy with your bend straightener because you don't want to kink anything. So you slowly straighten this out. This is going to slide along the frame. And this little hook here is going to get put into use up here. So that's pretty neat. Let me see if I can get the camera. Okay, so you can see how this hose comes up from the differential. Get that out of the way. Just a safety strap. Okay, so that hose comes up from the differential, goes in to this bracket here, okay? And this brake line, this stainless steel brake line, goes all the way to the front of the truck. So I'm going to set the camera up in a different spot, and you can just imagine how it's got to come back. It's going to come in from underneath here and hook into the inside of that, and it should go together really well. Done it a few times, and it's pretty smooth. There's also a clamp that you have to fasten to the inside of this to hold that in place so it doesn't fall out. Now, can you imagine what it would be like trying to make all these bends and get everything to fit just the way you want it and have it look good? by going with this package that Wild Horses have, it just makes your life so easy. All right. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. I mean, it's just so slick. Now we'll take that line and we're going to run it down the side of the frame. Ever so gently we'll pin it up into place. And then I'll tighten it right there. These are really nice. So you go all the way down the frame with self-tapping screws in those. And it just makes a really nice job. But I may not actually fasten those yet because I've got fuel lines that need to be fastened along the frame rail and probably any other number of things. And I don't want to take something off and make it look goofy or drill extra holes. So I probably won't do that, but I'm going to tie strap that into place right now just so it's not flopping all over the place until I can get it fastened into the front of the frame where it needs to. And you'll see as we go along. So everybody might like this part. So obviously we're putting the brake lines on. And when you order this from Wild Horses, they give you new brackets here. And normally the old brackets stood straight up. These brackets go this way. And then you've got your stainless steel line, hooks into the junction right here, and then the nylon, braided, hose comes over here to your caliper. And the caliper is at the 3 o'clock position here, okay? And we've got a new breather junction. I'm sure that there's a technical name for that, but basically that comes here. Now we've got the other stainless steel line going to the other side for the exact same setup. And then we've got another braided hose right here that's going to come up top. And this is kind of important because on the photographs from Wild Horses, they're really clear about everything with the instructions, except when it comes to this part. And I'm going to show you why in 2 seconds. So as you can see, I had to drill 2 holes, one to hold the brake line that comes up from the front differential, and one to hold the bracket that holds your brake lines as they come up from the back and the front, as well as from the booster down. So you'll see how that all fits together in a couple seconds. So I'm going to take and pop. This is the line that goes to the front brake hoses. And this, I'm not tightening up all the way because obviously down the road, I'm going to have to use, once the body is on the frame, then we've got the lines coming down from the power booster and they've all got to fit. But I'm going to mock it up right now so that you can see what it is. And that's good there. Okay, so this is the back line. And here's the front line. Just one sec. Okay. So you can see now both of these, of course, are going to come up to the front, to the power booster. And they'll hook up something like that or like that. I'm not really sure. I can't without having it here, but you got the idea. And this is the only thing that the pictures aren't clear about. in the instructions. So now you've got that, you can look at it and say, oh, all right, that's cool. That all makes sense. Anyway, cheers. So there you have it. It's a lot of fun. Everything in this truck is going together so smoothly. We're going to probably do another video before too long of installing the engine in the frame, the transmission, like all that stuff, putting all the goodies on it, installing the body on the frame. And maybe there'll be one after that for this truck, not really sure. I had my first plans were to have one video, do the whole truck, but it would have been 5 or 6 hours long, even shortening it up as much as I could. So anyway, it's gonna end up being 3, 4 videos, and it's really not a technical one. It's more, or these 3, the last 3, aren't overly technical. They're just kind of, there's some information in there. You see things, and might help you with some of the instructions that you've been looking at in the past and say, that doesn't really make sense to me. But then all of a sudden you see it in real life on a Bronco and you say, oh, that's the way that goes. Anyway, that's what this is all about. So hopefully you enjoy this, and we'll get back to you before too long with another one. Cheers, everybody.